In the bustling north end of Boston, January 15, 1919, dawned with a crisp chill in the air. The city was alive with the usual hum of activity, its residents bundled against the winter cold, going about their daily routines. Among the bustling neighborhood, overshadowing the smaller buildings, stood a massive steel tank owned by the Purity Distilling Company. This tank, filled with over 2.3 million gallons of molasses, was a silent giant, a seemingly innocuous part of the industrial landscape. Around noon, as the sun reached its peak, a low rumble began to emanate from the tank. Workers and residents in the vicinity barely had time to react as the tank burst with a thunderous roar, sending a tidal wave of molasses cascading through the streets. The explosion was so powerful that it was later reported to have created a shockwave felt miles away. The wave of molasses, reaching speeds of 35 miles per hour, obliterated everything in its path. Wooden houses were splintered, steel beams twisted, and the elevated railway track was ripped from its foundation. The sheer force of the sticky, sweet liquid caused chaos and destruction, trapping and suffocating those unable to escape its rapid advance. Antonio Di Stasio, a 10-year-old boy, had been playing near the tank with his friends. The boys were among the first to be swept away, their laughter turning to screams as the dark wave enveloped them. Antonio's father, who worked nearby, heard the explosion and ran toward the source, only to be met with the horror of the molasses flood. He searched frantically for his son, but the thick, viscous liquid made movement nearly impossible. In a nearby firehouse, Engine 31, Lieutenant John Keefe had just finished his lunch when the explosion shook the building. Without hesitation, he and his men rushed outside, only to be swept off their feet by the advancing wave. The firehouse was quickly engulfed, its windows shattered, and its doors wrenched from their hinges. Lieutenant Keefe and his men struggled to stay afloat in the molasses, their heavy gear weighing them down. In the aftermath of the flood, the streets of the North End were unrecognizable. Molasses coated everything, and the air was thick with its sickly sweet scent. Rescue efforts began immediately, but the task was monumental. The thick molasses made it nearly impossible to move, and as the day turned into night, temperatures dropped, causing the molasses to harden and further hampering the efforts. In total, 21 people lost their lives in the disaster. Among them were Antonio Di Stasio, found clutched in his father's arms days later, both victims of the unrelenting flood. Lieutenant John Keefe and several of his men also perished, their bravery in the face of disaster commemorated by the city in the years that followed. Over 150 people were injured, suffering from broken bones, lacerations, and the sheer trauma of the event. The disaster prompted a lengthy investigation, revealing that the tank had been hastily constructed, with its walls too thin to contain the massive quantity of molasses. The Purity Distilling Company faced numerous lawsuits, and the tragedy led to stricter regulations for industrial storage tanks, ensuring such a disaster would never happen again. The only remaining sign of the disaster is a small commemorative plaque in Langone Park, which sits on the original location of the Purity Distilling Company's molasses facility, a 5-minute walk from the Old North Church. The Great Molasses Flood, as it came to be known, left a lasting mark on Boston. Though the physical remnants of the disaster have long since been cleaned away, the memory of that fateful day remains, a somber reminder of the fragility of human life in the face of industrial negligence.